All right, everybody, welcome to Matchday -2 media availability. We have Coach on the podium here. We'll let him make an opening statement, then move to questions on the Zoom floor. Also, as a reminder, footage will be made available in the coming hours on Imagen. Coach?
Yeah, tough weekend. A good victory, a terrific 3 points for the group, but a very, very challenging weekend. Walked away from the St. Louis game thinking, just how competitive that group were, and what a good job that Bradley's done with that team in his first year. It was one of the toughest outings we've had at home, but pleased to come through it, and obviously to get the victory.
All right, we'll start with Ben Wright.
Yeah, Gary, it's obviously starting a busy stretch, especially with this week on the road. Saw Annabelle, Jacob, and Fafa are all called up for the Gold Cup. Specifically with Jacob, are you expecting to have him available for any games this week, or is his call-up going to take him away for the whole week?
No, he's available for us on Wednesday, and then I believe he leaves just after that. I think at the moment he's due to leave before Columbus, but we've got to confirm that. The other two guys are obviously away already, and that they won't be part of our plans for the foreseeable period of time. I guess the next thing that we'll be looking at with the other two guys you mentioned are when they exit the Gold Cup and when they might be back with a group, which could possibly be before we break for Leagues Cup.
And then Walker obviously played last night in the Nations League. What are you expecting for him when he returns? Do you expect for him to be available at all this week? And then you mentioned after St. Louis that Teal, his substitution was due to an injury. What's his status?
Yeah. So Walker will be back later on this afternoon, and given his appearances for the US over the last two games, I don't see any reason why Walker, knowing him as well, that he won't be available for the two games this week in whatever way, shape or form, we choose to minimise or otherwise the minutes, but he'll definitely be available. I don't think there'll be a problem there. He's come through unscathed yesterday. As far as Teal's concerned, the initial injury report is a favourable one. He's not got a serious problem there. I would hope the next 48 hours he might be in a fairly reasonable spot. Now, Wednesday would be a question, I think. In the most ideal of circumstances, he could well be available for that. But I think that might be a little bit of a push, but we'll see. All in all, he's in a much better place than we thought he would be.
All right, we'll move to Valair.
Hey Gary, with Fafa, Pico, and Jacob Schaffer, of course, being on international duty, there's clearly an opportunity that opens up in that position that they've been occupying for most of the season. Obviously, Randall Leal is a guy we've seen play in there. Does this open up opportunity for anyone else other than Leal to kind of showcase and be able to maybe bit of a competition for that position?
Absolutely. I think this period of time in general is one where, some of the guys that have not featured as regularly as they would like or have had the minutes that they would want, I think all of those guys are in the equation. If you look at the bench at the weekend, I think it involved just about everyone, given the players that were unavailable to us for different reasons. So, in terms of, forcing their way into the group, taking advantage of a particular situation, Randall's an easy one to say, yes, of course, he'll feature more regularly and we would expect him to be a bigger part of the team. I would have expected that anyway. You saw at the weekend that he started. It really was the circumstances at the weekend that I thought forced me into bringing Jacob into the game a little bit earlier. In the end, I think that we saw it was effective, but that doesn't alter the fact that I think Randall's a valuable part of our group. I honestly think it opens up a little bit of a door for the likes of Luke Atkinson, Ethan that you saw come on in the second half of the game. Those guys in particular should be looking at this period of time with multiple games and players away and thinking to themselves, this could be my opportunity to make a bit more of a claim for more minutes in the team. Certainly in an attacking standpoint anyway.
In terms of Montreal specifically, in the 4 years you've been in the league, you've played them 6 times, you've drawn twice, and you've won the other 4. Montreal still haven't been able to get a win against you. Is that something you think about at all, or is that, I know it's different years, obviously different teams, but is that something that's on your mind at all?
Till you just told me, I didn't know that stat. All I really look at is what sort of form are the team in when you're playing them. What challenge do they represent when you're going to compete against them? And what I know is from the last time that we played them, they've improved. They've added a couple of good pieces to their group in Lassiter and Duke in the trade from Miami. I think they've made a very nice impact for the side. And I think also you would have to expect that the new coach going in there in the off-season needed a little bit of time to get that group moving and shifting in the way that he would like, albeit in a very similar shape to the way that Wilfred played. But when you've got new ideas and you've got a new coach, that takes a little bit of settling in time. What I think you are seeing now is a very adaptable group. They've got good depth, and they're in a good run of form. So therefore, the challenge we have in front of us is as difficult as any that we're going to face. At home, Montreal are a good side. They get good support. They use and utilise their home environment very, very well. And it'll be a big challenge for us. Even in a good run of form ourselves, I think we've done a good job of not looking beyond the next game. And the next game is a tough one. And as long as we plan and prepare for that in the right way, then I hope that our run of form against them continues.
We talked a lot last year about kind of maybe the struggles at Geodis Park and how you guys adapted to that new stadium. With a win on Saturday, you've already won more this year than you did in all of last year. What do you think has been the difference in your home form this year as opposed to last year?
I think last year was a learning experience more than anything. I think another dynamic that played into it last year for us was starting the season with 8 games away from home and then trying to adapt a style that fit a home performance very quickly, and that took some time, and obviously there were growing pains with that. But I think this year we had the luxury of playing a more balanced schedule from the get-go, and quite frankly, I think having the season opener at Geodis Park allowed us to kind of show how we can fire on all cylinders and have a positive result underneath our belt very early was huge for us. And I think you just have a lot of continuity and you have a lot of guys that knew what to expect coming into this year and what the atmosphere is like. But more importantly, we got to, really have more consistent opportunities early in the year to play aggressive and to play a style that serves us better at home and stuff that we've been able to replicate on the road at times. And I think it makes us a much more dangerous and a much more balanced team.
And then now going into this week where you're going to be playing twice on the road, how do you try to maintain that maybe similar style of play as you played at home without getting caught out? Because as we all know, playing on the road in MLS is tougher than maybe any other league.
Sure, exactly. It's a great point. I think to what I was speaking about, I think the experience that we can draw on is last year how we started so many games away from home and how we had a pretty good points yield from that experience and that stretch. So I think there's a lot of things that we can take from that and be confident in. But again, it's a slightly different group. Last year was a different animal. This stretch is certainly something that we have circled as being a difficult run for us. But I think it's about focusing on ourselves. I know that's pretty obvious, but I think you can get caught up trying to tailor your game to different environments and different teams, especially when you're on the road. And for a team and ourselves that's in a good vein of form right now, I think it's really important just to focus on ourselves. Make sure we replicate the things that we've been doing well at home. Those things don't have to exclusively happen at home. I think they can happen anywhere, as we've shown so far this year. And then just try to make sure that we're aware of the stuff that these teams pose in terms of dangerous players moving forward. What are some of the ways they create goals and chances? And what we can do to kind of offset that, and then on the other side, take advantage of some of the stuff they have going on defensively. So that's all part of a normal game plan. Of course, we have to be pragmatic and realistic as we navigate a tough schedule away from home, like you said. But I think for a team that's in good form, such as us right now, I think we just focus on ourselves and take it one game at a time.
All right, Ben, any follow-ups? All right, we'll move to Valer.
Yeah, Dan, you were talking about being in good form, and one thing I've noticed in the back line, obviously, you've had a good amount of changes happen, whether it was international duty, injury, or any other reason. How have you been able to keep that good form, especially that sort of back four core players, with all the changes? Is that hard to kind of maintain?
It's incredibly difficult. I think just in general, any team trying to navigate absences, injuries, whatever it may be, acclimating new players to a lineup such as Lucas, getting guys their first real chunk of MLS minutes such as Josh Bauer, I think it's really difficult. And at the end of the day, you rely on those individuals in certain moments, but for us as a collective, we've been able to maintain such a high level in our defensive play, in that unit in the back line because of Jack Mayer. I think that's something that's sort of gone underneath the radar, and I'm sure he prefers it that way at times. But, as outside backs, certainly Shaq and myself have played the bulk of the minutes in each respective position, but we know we're a little bit more reactive, and the spine of the team really moves through the center backs, the central midfielders, and then the guys up top. So from the outside looking into, what needs to be a dominant part of the field for us, Jack has been the most consistent performer in our back line. And I think he's a luxury that we have. He's able to tailor his game to whoever he's playing with, and still accomplish his own role at a very high level. I think it's a luxury that we have him. And I think it's great for him to have this first year where he's really a consistent starter. Even though he's had great minutes and great appearances in his time in the past in Nashville, I think this year's been a great sort of platform for him to kind of move forward. And we obviously love the way he works with Walker, but his ability to adapt to who he's playing with and to be a consistent contributor offensively and defensively is a major, major part of what we're able to accomplish on a game-to-game basis. So I think that continuity is something we strive for. We want to have a group of guys that are used to playing with each other along that back line, but in these instances where it's a tough stretch and we have guys that are in and out for whatever reason, it's really important in that center back position to have guys like Jack. I give him enough stuff. This is kind of my way of offsetting the shtick I give him, so this is good.
And then in terms of, obviously you know about the unbeaten run. You're 10 unbeaten now, really good form and all. But do you, as players, speak about unbeaten run? Is that something on your mind when you go into the next game?
No, we don't speak about it. I think we're all aware of it. Obviously, we're incredibly proud of it. I think that's an incredible feat. In any sport really, let alone ours, when there is, there's a lot of parity in this league. So I think it's difficult to accomplish. So we're certainly proud of it, but I think any of us would trade an unbeaten streak for an MLS Cup or a Supporter Shield. So we're aware of it. Good things happen when you're not getting beaten for sure, but we're in the business of winning games, not just kind of surviving and not being beaten. And I think there's a real distinction between those two mindsets. So I think it's important to stay focused on winning games versus not losing them. I think, again, that's a very distinct difference. And I think we've been able to show that we are difficult to beat. And I think historically our battle has been to become a team that's more aggressive and to really put together consecutive wins back to back to back. And when we have difficult stretches, we can navigate them. And of course, not being beaten is huge, but picking our moments to win games as consistently and as comprehensively as possible is what we're doing. That's what we're in the business of doing. So I think it's important we continue to focus on that. And the streak is what it is. I think if we focus on ourselves and put our energy in the right places, that stuff seems to work itself out. So if we end up setting records in regards to that, that's great. I'm sure it's a great thing we can all pat ourselves on the back for. But like I said, I think anyone would trade that in for, some silverware at the end of the year.